Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Big Podcast. Today, we have with us Ms. Sumaira Mudassir. She's heading the Quality Assurance Department at Beaconhouse International College, and she's been associated with Beaconhouse Group for the last 8 years. We're going to talk about QA and what it pertains to at Beaconhouse International College. We're going to talk about how it impacts the college teams, the students, the organizational culture itself. So I'd really appreciate if you could join in and watch the episode and give us some positive feedback. Thank you for joining us, Sumera. So my first question to you would be, what is quality assurance in Beaconhouse International College according to you?
When we say quality assurance at Beaconhouse International College, we have a very impact oriented approach.
Right.
It's process centered, yes, but more than that, it's impact oriented. And as head of quality assurance, my key focus is to ensure positive outcomes for our students.
Mhm.
Beacon House has had a reputation of ensuring and producing good quality students, no matter what level we are catering to them at. And we'd like to maintain the same at Beacon House International College. For us, positive outcomes are defined as academic excellence, employability, placements, career advancement, career readiness. We'd also like to look at how engaged students are in their college life, co and extracurricular activities, their performances across the board at national level, international level. So we're just kind of looking at it in a way that students have to have this experience where they can um, actually have a very sound and deep realization of holistic development, basically.
Right.
So it's not just academic excellence that we're focusing on. Other than that, I think a very key focus that we have as a team is to ensure that the students who graduate from Beacon House International College are not just exceptional achievers academically, but they are well rounded global citizens. They
Yes.
understand, and most importantly, good humans.
Mm.
I mean, it's a very broad definition. And
But an important one, though.
but a very important one. And, these students who are going to be studying with us for the next 3 years, once they step out, they're going to form the next generation of leaders, teachers, scientists, God knows what, every single profession, basically. So it's really important to understand that we send out students who have that level of integrity built in them. Because that is what our society basically needs.
Sumaira, so that's very interesting. Are there any mechanisms in place to ensure everything that you just highlighted?
Absolutely. As a quality assurance department, it is absolutely impossible for us to function without a mechanism or a framework. And that is exactly what we have. We have a very rigorous framework in place for organizational excellence and for academic delivery as well. All the aspects of positive outcomes that we've spoken about earlier, they're all covered by that framework. We have different dimensions and different departments that take care of different aspects of that provision actually feed into that framework, of course.
So also speak about the approach and the mindset you bring towards the QA department at Beacon House International College.
That's an excellent question to ask. There's a certain image associated with quality assurance departments. People actually look at it in a very critical way. People feel that the QA departments are there only to catch the mistakes of the people.
Sort of like a policing kind of department where
Absolutely,
you
a policing
catch a
department,
person.
and that's right.
But that's not what you exactly do.
Absolutely not. Because, like I said in the beginning, that we are more impact oriented than process oriented. We are process oriented, though we can't leave that out of the way. But the most important thing for the big quality assurance department is the impact. And when we are visiting campuses or we're interacting with colleagues, the focus remains that what impact will this carry or have, And if we are policing around, definitely we're not leaving a very good impact for the teams to carry on with their work, basically. So we basically deal in an appreciative but critical thinking manner. And our job as a QA team is to ensure that people end up self reflecting
Mhm.
and realizing that what we are suggesting or recommending them to do is basically for them because we are on their team. So it's not like an external team coming around to catch people for mistakes, but just to make sure that we as a team don't make any more mistakes the next time. Because I also feel that, a very healthy take on mistakes is that mistakes shouldn't be looked at like a sin or something which is
Unforgivable,
unforgivable
that's
error.
happened.
Absolutely.
Of course not.
It's just like if you end up learning from a mistake, I think it was a huge opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And nothing better than that. It's better to make a mistake that makes you learn and grow rather than not make any mistakes at all.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that it's the second year of inception of this framework, and we've been able to kind of bring people to that point where people now feel safe about sharing their challenges, because it just helps us to kind of design pathways for them to navigate through tricky situations when we go and have these professional dialogue sessions with teams at campuses or within our own teams. It's more about finding solutions than finding faults.
Right. And it's always a solution oriented approach that you take.
Solution oriented, constructive approach.
Whether it's campus oriented or whether it's a
Absolutely.
student oriented, we look at solutions rather than.
Absolutely. I'm a huge believer in being part of the solution than being part of the problem.
And at the end of the day, it's all geared towards how we can make the life of a student, better in that sense.
Absolutely. And that is the common purpose, and that is what binds us all together as a great team. We all know our jobs, and every other person that I interact with, they're great at what they do basically. So it's about ensuring that they know how great they are and how they can be greater than where they are today.
Right. And you've also come up with the student recognition program. Involves a lot of different stakeholders. Can you shed a little bit light on how it works and how it benefits students in the end?
So yes, student recognition program is a program that has been put into place to ensure that students know the value of acting the right way, and they get rewarded for it as well.
Right.
But it has a very non-material approach at the same time. It's not about giving some material incentives to people, but like it's more about credit calculations. And I'm sure you've heard of nudge theory. We've spoken about it quite a few times, and it's just about rewarding positive behavior to ensure that the larger part of the audience becomes a part of it.
Right.
It's just human psychology that we all want to do the right thing, or we all want to do the thing that is acknowledged or publicly celebrated. Again, in a very non material way, of course, because it's just a feeling of satisfaction or happiness that comes along. So, we've introduced this program where students get acknowledged for performing in different segments and areas. Again, all those link back into the positive outcomes that we've spoken about earlier: academic excellence, attendance, internships, community projects for that matter. Also, co and extracurricular activities, and all this is clubbed into one single program where certain number of credits are calculated and the highest scorers are rewarded. We recently had a very interesting meet for all the student recognition program winners. We call them big icons of excellence, and they all get to have the due rewards, the due credits, and of course, a very celebratory lunch with the CEO, Mr. Nasser Kasuri. And we had a great session, the first one just a couple of months ago, and it was very well received by students, and students feel more geared up for the next spell, inshallah.
We've heard of the QA department in different contexts in different industries. How would you define QA in terms of transnational education?
Well, that's another good question, I must say, because when you were just focusing on QA from an insider's approach, I would say we're using this organizational excellence framework. But then, a key part of this framework is also aligning our compliance standards with the expectations of our external partners. When I say external partners, that means the universities that we're dealing with: Liverpool John Moores University, University of London, University of Kent, University of Essex, and Pearson, of course. So they also have a set of requirements for us to operate, in Pakistan, and we have a key focus on ensuring that all the compliance standards are in line with the expectations of the partners. Secondly, another key aspect, which is interestingly more challenging than meeting the compliance standards of our external partners, is meeting expectations of regulatory authorities most of the time. And it just makes me feel happy at the same time because it's very thorough. The framework that is in place by our local regulatory authorities, such as the HEC, the Bar Council, this has a lot of depth. lots of areas, lots of key areas are covered very well by that. And, that makes me feel that, our local education system, even if it's for TNE, that's transnational education, it's very well focused. So aligning compliance of those expectations is also covered in our framework, and we make sure that we are ticking all the boxes when it's about catering to those requirements as well.
As a QA department, I'm sure you deal with students as well. How accessible are you towards the students?
Very accessible because they are our prime stakeholder. Like I said, we are very, very student centered. Ultimately, all it adds up to is positive outcomes for students, like I said earlier. So, yes, the QA department is accessible through, QA helpline that we have, recently established. Other than that, we run surveys for the students to give feedback to us that just makes them feel more engaged as process partners than just merely, studying in an institution. They're very suggestive. I think the most delightful bit is interacting with students when you're talking to them over a call because they have lots of beautiful ideas to share and lots of beautiful suggestions, which makes me feel that they actually want to be part of the process. And the system and the mechanism that we have at BIC under our leadership of Mr. Nasser and Ms. Safia, I think they're greatly empowering, not just for the team, but for students as well. So that is the beauty in the whole thing. So we're always welcoming student suggestions. I get to have a students meeting every time I visit campuses. We have this open invite for students that, I mean, again, going back to the same thing, it's not about fishing for mistakes when you're at the campuses, but just giving them an open avenue to come and share if they want to have a word with the QA team. And yeah, that's how it goes
And
basically.
of course, it also means that your cooperation with the campus teams is basically hand in glove.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, when you were at the campus, we are all one team. It's not one team visiting the campus, it's all teams collaborating together to achieve a common point of success. And I'm really glad to say that we've recently, celebrated our fifth year, which actually tells that BIC is taking off as, a young but a very successful organization. And that can't happen unless our campus teams are doing what they're required to do. So I believe it's everyone's share in this collaborative and collective success.
Excellent. And lastly, Sumera, you said that there are so many students that give you a lot of positive feedback. Um, how often is it that sometimes you're told that is completely something I wouldn't say outlandish, but that's a little bit unexpected. Or can you share an anecdote with us that is a little?
Well, I would just kind of say that it's not always very positive or very negative. It's a very beautiful blend, So when I interact with students or I read their responses and surveys, it just gives us an insight on how creative and how reflective these minds are. And I think giving these minds the avenue to express themselves and also take their suggestions to a point where they feel that they're heard and their suggestions are incorporated in the college routine, I think that is where the ownership comes in. We've recently started doing a lot of student led events because, we've had this collective understanding as a team that we would give roles and responsibilities to students. And they've done an amazing job. So, again, like when I say it's about critical feedback, we do receive some and we don't discourage it. And we also don't over encourage it because we got to keep the balance right. We got to make sure that the campus teams and the students both feel safe and both feel like one team,
They
basically.
are a team.
That's the
And
purpose.
essentially, as you've mentioned this across this entire episode, that the main focus is, as you like to say, keep the main thing,
Thank you.
right?
The
So we
main
have
thing is to keep the
the
main
main thing,
thing
the
the main
main thing,
thing.
right?
That's right.
Exactly. So student-centered policies, or are essentially the center of everything that we do at
Absolutely.
Beaconhouse International
Students are
College.
at the heart of the matter for us, for sure.
Can you share any exciting development for the coming year? I mean, the new year just started, and um, can you share any exciting feedback, any exciting event that's coming up that you could discuss with the students?
Well, we had a very, very happening year. I mean, I'm very, very happy to be part of a team where we've achieved a lot over the last year. And I mean, of course, not just last year, over the last 5 years that we've existed, I'm sure, a lot of achievement has come along the way. So, yeah, well, I'd like to keep it a secret. So I'm just going to wait for it to get unveiled at the right time. But a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We recently had like an amazing academic achievement by few of our students who secured world distinctions at the University of London. That was a huge moment for all of us. Other than that, there's a lot. There's a lot. And Azam, don't act like you don't know about.
I'm hosting the interview, so I get to
Yeah,
add.
so you got to act like the stranger, someone who doesn't know.
No, but as you just mentioned that we have some amazing students. They have done some remarkable work, whether it's academic or non-academic. We've had debate championships that have gone by. We've had amazing club and societies that
I think a lot of great work, and I think a huge part of the credit actually goes to the campus teams and the faculty for putting in so much hard work. Of course, we want them to do this good or even better in the coming years because, for me, when people ask me, so, okay, I'll just tell you about this interesting thing. So we have this scale in our QA framework where excellence is at the top. So I do get asked this question a lot, like, what is the definition of excellence? And I personally feel excellence is organic. You cannot say that I've reached this point and this is excellent. Let's say if excellence is stage 5, defined to be stage 5. But once you've reached stage 5, excellence is stage 6 then. It's not just about sitting at stage 5 and just celebrating it in a dormant manner for the next 100 years, thinking, oh, yeah, that's all that I've. When you're at stage 5, when you've achieved excellence, it's about time that you craft stage 6 of excellence, basically.
exactly.
So that's the kind of conversations we've had. We've recently had a lot of professional development sessions for our teams, received great feedback from all of them, which tells us that our teams are very keen learners. And yeah, we're looking forward to, kind of observing impact of all these professional development sessions in the coming years, inshallah.
And we're always grateful for Umair, to Umair and you for organizing all of the professional development workshops, whether they be with Franklin Covey or some other departments as well. And I think in the longer run, they benefit not just the individual at that time, but the organizational culture and the
Absolutely.
organizational shift that we make in as we move in towards in the age of AI and incorporating new strategies. So I think it's absolutely essential that we keep upgrading our skills, whether it's at a student level or whether it's the professional level.
Absolutely.
We've got to keep doing that on a regular basis. As you just said, there is no
There's
finality towards excellence.
Absolutely. And there's no end to learning. You have to be a lifelong learner. Like I've been in evaluations and monitoring for, let's say, 8 years now. And I cannot say I know everything. I personally feel as humble humans that we all should be. We can, at no point in time, we can say that I know everything because every day is a learning experience. We got to walk this talk so people around us actually adopt this culture, adopt this mindset, and our students follow the same then, basically. So, now, like you spoke about organizational culture, I think a lot of it is dependent upon what kind of a mindset we have. We all have to have constructive mindsets. I'm glad we're part of a team that already operates this way, and it's just about ensuring that we're all aligned, going in the right direction, and most importantly, being a part of the solution and not choosing to be a part of the problem.
That reminds me of that meme where this little girl comes running in and she says, are you going to be, the mom asks, are you going to be a part of the solution? No, she says, no, I'm going to be the entire problem. So some people are like that, but Alhamdulillah for Beaconhouse International College and for our students, we're grateful that our leadership and our teams are professional enough to handle even disagreements very, very effectively.
That's so true, Azam. I'm glad you brought that up because, I feel teams only grow when you have healthy discussions. I don't even call it disagreement. I just call it a different perspective. And I think it's really great to have a team culture where we all can express if we feel differently. Obviously, it has to be respectful discussion towards that. We can't be making other people feel bad if you don't agree with them. I mean, of course, we've discussed that 6 versus 9 thing. I mean, if I write 6 on this table right now, you'll see it as a 9, I'll see it as a 6. And we both will still be right, but different. So I think it's all about clubbing all the differences in a collective way, which becomes a perfect, powerful package for our students.
Essential. Essential for any kind of growth,
Any kind of growth, absolutely.
So in FCAD, we come across a lot of funny situations where students give very interesting answers, and sometimes even with parents, there are situations where it's not funny, but I guess it becomes humorous.
Yeah.
Can you share any anecdote with us that has that kind of an element from QA perspective?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna pass this. Why so? Because it will end up compromising my commitment to confidentiality, because it will ultimately end up involving any of the stakeholders that I deal with on a daily basis, and I would not want that trust compromise.
Right.
So I'll just throw the same question back at you about a funny or an amusing incident. I'm sure you have plenty.
Yeah, that's one of the perks of being the EPCAD, head, and of course, my counseling experience. I've come across various situations that were, I wouldn't categorize them as funny, but a little bit strange, I guess. But that kind of makes them funny.
Right.
So I'll just share this anecdote with you. I was suggesting some subject combinations to an A-level student once, and um, he brought his parents along, and it was a discussion about what kind of subjects the student should opt for, and the student was in the favor of taking media studies, psychology, and sociology, which are very good subjects, and
Interesting.
they have
Very interesting
yeah. I
combination.
mean, that's a great combination in my opinion.
I agree.
But when I asked the parent about what the reservation was, his answer kind of surprised me because he said, "These are such ladylike subjects." So
Seriously?
I actually laughed out at that time, and then he didn't find it funny at all. Like yeah, he was
Set in his opinion, you know.
so yeah. You come across these kind of situations
So
very
how did you
often.
convince, who were you able to convince?
Well, we didn't manage to convince the father because
Okay,
it was a
great job.
student's entire career that we were speaking about, and
Of course.
of course, as career counseling goes, there's a triangle of stakeholders where it's students, parents,
Absolutely.
and the advisors. But long story short, we didn't manage to convince that those ladylike subjects were actually in the long term benefit of those particular students.
Right. I'm glad. And I'm sure the student must be very thankful to you.
Yeah, I'm
At the end of the day,
hope that
like we said, students are at the heart of the matter, you know. So
course.
ultimately it's about them. Great, great. Thanks for sharing it.
Well, that brings close to this episode. Thank you very much for joining us today, Samira. I hope we can get you back for another episode sometime, and you can
Definitely, anytime.
then talk about what that you have in store for the rest of the year that we have planned.
Well, I would not say I have it in store. I think our entire
Team has in store.
store for, you know, everyone, and primarily for our students, for sure.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Samira. Pleasure having
Thanks a
you.
lot. Thank you very much, Azam. It was a pleasure to be here.